Hey, welcome to a special update from Bible Mysteries Podcast. I'm Scott Mitchell, and I'm here to kind of give you some insight maybe on what we know so far about the war that just started in Israel. As I speak to you, it is Sunday, October the 8th, 2023. And the headlines are everywhere, as you probably already know, about Hamas sending some missiles and attacking the nation state of Israel. There's all kind of stuff. And of course, take everything you read from the media with a grain of salt, knowing who controls it. You're going to have to do your diligence just like anybody else to see if you can decipher what's really true and what's not. I'm seeing things about Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei basically cheering on the people that were hurt or killed in Israel. I forget his title, if he's Secretary of State or what, Anthony Blinken in the U.S. admitting that Iran's always used and focused its funds on supporting terrorism. We've got reports of arms left over from our pullout of Afghanistan, which was so poorly executed by our president, that those are arms that are reaching Afghanistan, or rather coming from Afghanistan, reaching Hamas or the Palestinians. I've read that Afghanis, Taliban are asking permission to go through Iran to get to Palestine to help them. And there's abducted Americans and Israelis that are being held hostage by Hamas. Again, I can't confirm the veracity of all these articles, but that just gives you some idea of what's going on. Now, having said all that, keep an open mind, keep your eyes peeled, and be vigilant. We should be in prayer, obviously, for any time there's a war, just as we've been praying for the horrible things that are going on in Ukraine and other spots in the world, most of which are being fomented by the United States. But the big question here that many who watch the times and are aware of prophecy, they're asking, is this in fact the battle of Psalm 83? And so I'm going to let you know that I'll be doing some podcast episodes coming up very soon, probably by the end of October and possibly the 1st of November, that are going to address this issue. So I'm not going to go into detail on this update here because it's really, it's not the platform for that. But I thought I would read a few verses from Psalm 83. You can certainly study the chapter yourself. But starting in verse 1, it says, "Keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They've said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee." And it goes on to list a number of nations that existed at the time the psalmist wrote this: the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. Now the passage goes on to discuss more things, but that's enough for you to get an idea that from the looks of things, the nations that surround the current nation state of Israel today, which today would be Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, Egypt, whatever. If you compare a map of modern Middle East to these countries in the Old Testament, they all basically are the surrounding enemies of Israel. And it's clear their objective is, verse 4, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So is this Hamas and their stated goal? Evidently, that's kind of what they seem to be purporting. Their objective is to remove Israel from the land. And is this being fulfilled now? I don't know if it is being fulfilled right now. It's amazing that we live in these times. And it's possible that that's another indication of us being in the last days, and maybe the rapture is not far behind. One thing I can tell you is this is not the Confederation of Nations that attacks Israel from the Ezekiel 38:39, Gog and Magog. This is something else, and this may be not connected to anything related to that, but it does seem to be a cry for Israel to ask God to come help them. Could be a turning point such that they acknowledge their offense and seek his face again. And that would be the fulfillment of Hosea chapter 5 and 6. But something that stuck out to me in the passage that I'm going to comment on, because I'm not politically savvy and I tend to not look at the news, or at least I filter it a lot through the lens of knowing that the satanic global elite controls the media. But the passage that struck me is verse 3. It says, "They have taken crafty counsel against thy people." Based on verse 4, there's the connection to Israel, the nation. And then it says, "and consulted against thy hidden ones." And the thing that stuck out to me, and I was discussing this with my wife, is the term hidden ones. Now, other Bible translations say treasured ones. And while the word in Hebrew is always translated in the King James Bible as hidden or hid or laid up or something, though it's never used as treasure, but there's a connection to like laying up treasure. And what I'm going to do in the coming weeks, Lord willing, is tie in who the hidden ones might be. Because the question for me has always been, is the current political entity known as the State of Israel God's people? Or are God's people contained within it, and are they hidden somehow? Because when you've got a nation that is in violation of God's laws, in violation of God's truth, and does not acknowledge Christ as Savior, Tel Aviv is a cesspool like Washington, D.C. I have no preconceptions that this is the people of God. However, there are many people that I'm being told in Israel, or Jews for that matter, that are converting to believing on Jesus Christ as Messiah. That's not being reported in the media, and so I can't corroborate it. But let's say it is happening. Well, then it could be Messianic Jews are the people. But then I struggle with, well, if they've trusted Christ as their Lord and Savior, they're going to go out in the rapture because they're just as saved as you and I. So we're going to explore the possibilities in a series I'm going to call The Hidden Ones. And it'll be Bible Mysteries episodes, probably 160 and 161. And look for that in the coming weeks. So as details unfold, I'm sure we'll be altering our understanding of the political events, but we're going to try our best to focus on what we can glean from the scriptures as to the spiritual implications of what's going on. So prayer, let's do that. Be in prayer, let's watch, and let's be vigilant. And don't forget to look up. For regardless of whether this is the battle of Psalm 83 or not, our redemption draws nigh. Thanks for listening. I'm Brother Scott.